Hey YouTube, it's Lee in Fishbowl. How's it going? It's Friday. I know I say that every Friday. I'm so excited. I'm leaving my last school. The weekend is officially beginning for me. And we are headed to a little town in, it's about 2.5 hours from here. That my, let me see, I think I'm going to go this way. That my parents have a river house at, and we were supposed to be going there for a family reunion, but the family reunion got postponed last minute, so we are now going there just to hang out with my mom and dad and my brother and his family. I hope the air conditioning's not too loud. It is sweltering right here. It's 80 degrees outside and it's beautiful, but it's hot, so I'll turn the air down in a minute. I hope it's not going to bother the sound quality in this, but anyway, I wanted to do a video response to a vlog I saw today by Waiting for Baby Teeter, and I loved every second of her vlog. And anyway, she had these 5 questions, and I know it wasn't meant as a tag or anything, but I wanted to do a video response to her and kind of give her my thoughts on exactly what she was saying. But first off, I have to tell you, the whole video cracked me up at points, and I hope I don't fall over me and my driving vlogs here. Hang on, let me fix that just a little bit there. Okay, maybe it won't rock so much. But anyway, she was cracking me up about the sex. Oh my gosh, talking about how she preferred to put her legs up behind her head for 15 minutes instead of have foreplay, and she preferred to jump her husband's bones because she has egg white cervical mucus versus being spontaneous. So anyway, man, she hit the nail on the head with that vlog, and I just totally appreciated it, and I just thought it would be cool to do something to kind of give my twist on these questions. I wrote them down, and I was listening to hers. Well, actually, after I rewound it and wrote the questions down because I was driving when I was listening to her vlog. So, alright, let's get with it because I'm trying to beat the 10-minute mark here with this camera. It cuts off after 10 minutes. I have to turn it on. So, number 5, I'm going to start with the 5th question. She worked her way down to the 1st question, and number 1 being the most important. So, the 5th question was, when did we turn into robots? And what she was saying basically was, when did we become inhuman to our lives in certain ways? I guess TTCing is so, it's something you have to be so consistent at. You know, you temp, you take your ovulation test, you check your cervical mucus, you check your cervical position. I don't do that, but most people do. You know, it's something that you just become habitual about, and that does make you very much a robot in the sense of the word. And it also becomes in your intimate life with your spouse that it makes it even more difficult to become spontaneous, because you have to plan when you're going to have those intimate moments. You know, we've been married since 2001, so that makes it 12 years this coming November, so 11 years. And you know, quite honestly, we're out of the honeymoon stage when it comes to that. Real life has kicked in. We have a kid. We have full-time jobs, both of us. We have extracurricular everything that we do, whether it's for our son or with our church or whatever. And quite honestly, you know, intimacy is just one of those things that takes a back burner anyway. But so that makes it even more obvious when you do become intimate all of a sudden, that maybe it's because of a reason, as in you're fertile. So I agree with her totally on that, and I do think that for me there was a point where I hit where she is, and I was like, this is just, you know, and I tell you who it affected my husband, mentally and physically. And I'm not going to go into detail about that. That's his private issues. But there was a point where I realized that I needed to back off as far as our intimacy, and it needed to be more spontaneous and more exciting. And so that's when I kind of learned that, you know, I didn't need to be a robot, and that I needed to just relax. You know, we are into these people. I'm sorry, I'm trying to merge into a lane, and this guy's not slowing down. Okay, now I lost my train of thought. I feel so stupid in these sunglasses. Let me take them off. Hopefully I can see. You know, it will be 4 years in June that we've been trying for our second child. So there was those first, after the miscarriage at 15 weeks, which was just a few months after we started trying for number 2, when I really got back into, okay, I want to make this work, I refused to let this miscarriage get me down, that's when I became that robot. When I was just determined that I was going to get pregnant again, and it was going to work. And we went to a specialist, and then we went to another specialist, and we wound up doing 6 IUIs, and I need to vlog all about that. But in that time in our lives, it was harsh. It was, and it was very stressful, and the IUIs are just, I mean, quite honestly, they're just awful. They're nothing you want to do. You put yourself through that because you want the baby. And so she's exactly right. You do have to stop and ask yourself, when did I become a robot? And if you get to that point where you're obsessed about it, and it's everything that you do is for a reason to TTC, then it is time to take a break, in my opinion. And we did do that. And the funny thing is, and this is the way that the good Lord works, every time we've taken a break from fertility specialists is when we get pregnant. Now, granted, we've lost them all, but I've not gotten pregnant yet under a doctor, other than my Clomid with our son and with our first loss. So, all those IUIs and injectables, and I'm not saying that discouraging anybody from what they're doing, but I'm saying for us, I do think that stress and the robotic type nature of conceiving was just not working for us. And therefore, for us right now, we're just going to try naturally. You know, I did do the HSG to check my tubes yesterday, but that was not because I'm doing a medicated cycle. It was simply to make sure it was safe for us to try again, because once you've had an ectopic, you need to check your tubes. You don't want to try to conceive and then have another ectopic if there's something blocking it. So that was why we did that. But in general, I get it. I get the whole robot thing. And I think that if you get to that point, it's definitely time to take a step back and relax, because it can affect your marriage, and it can affect your relationships with everybody around you. It can affect yourself and your esteem. I mean, there were times when I was depressed after IUIs, when I'd put all that money and all that time and energy and planning it, and it just to be a BFN, that was just a big slap in the face. So I get that. Number 4 was, what else is there to enjoy in life other than having a baby? And that is one of those things that I'm at that point too. Like I said, you know what I've said about the IUIs and everything, and we're on a break, but we're trying. We're on a break from doctors and medications, and we're trying to be more natural about it. And in that time, what I found to be really good for me as a focus is my weight loss, my healthiness, my son's well-being and his healthiness. We've been working out quite a few times a week, trying to eat healthy. You know, I'm trying to take care of myself more. You know, trying to just to improve who I am and what I am and who my family is and what they are, and my son, and invest my time into my son. Now, I get it that some of you that are listening, you don't have a child at all, so you're going to say, what do I invest my time in? But just because you don't have a child doesn't mean there's not worthy things that you should be investing your time in. You need to be the person that God has created you to be, and there's no stipulation on that as to, I will do this until I have a child, then I'll become the person God wants me to be. The whole process is part of how God is shaping you into who He wants you to be, in my opinion. And I believe that all of my losses, all of the no's that I've gotten from the IUIs, all the stress that we've dealt with, every bit of that has shaped me into who I am right now, and it's part of God's plan in a weird kind of way. So, you know, there's so much in life to enjoy. And when you know, what's funny about being in ministry for me, there with the 10-minute cutoff. I'm sorry so much for keeping this to 10 minutes. I'm on the second question. I'm already into 10 minutes. Anyway, let me see if I can speed this up. What I was saying is what makes it a real eye-opener for me in the ministry is that, you know, we see things that are pretty rough. You know, a young girl my age being diagnosed with like stage 3 ovarian cancer, told that she has 3 years to live, if that. And all 3 of those years are going to be with chemo and a horrible quality of life. Or, you know, watching someone's child die. Those are the kinds of things that rock your world and make you realize that, you know, yeah, I may not get a second child. However, there are much more important things in life than what I need. And so there are things that we can invest. There are other people who need us and that God puts in our lives that we can minister to or be with. That that's where you put your focus. If you obsess over this TTCN, then you're going to become a ball of just bitter, nerved out misery. And if it's, I mean, you know, if you continue and you're not getting what you want, you've got to me, and this is my religious thing, I have to give it over to God. I cannot, and that's, you know, that touches on number 2. I'm going to skip number 3 and come back to it. Number 2 is, why do I feel like I have to have so much control over the situation? And that was an amazing question, and that's so me, because I am such a control freak. I research and I read and I learn about, well, if I have this, then maybe that's why I'm not getting pregnant, or if I'm not doing that. But it's exactly what she said in her vlog. It's not my fault that I'm not getting pregnant. Yes, there may be things I can do to improve my chances, but it's a learning curve, and it's something that you go along and learn as you go. It's not like the first time I tried to get pregnant, I had all the answers. But I do obsess, and I do read too much, and I do research a lot. And that can be a good thing, and it can be a bad thing. Yet again, it goes back to, are you letting it rule your life? So there was a point where it was ruling my life. It was frightening me. It was scaring me. I was almost to a panic mode almost. So I had to let go of those reins, like I said, and give it back to God and say, you know what? I can do what I can, but the bottom line is, it's not my decision whether I get pregnant or not. Even the most ideal situations in IVF where the baby is stuck right into the side of your uterus and looks like the perfect blast, well, those don't all work out. The bottom line is, it's not my decision. So I have to give that control over to the Lord. And that's hard. And it's not one of those things you just, okay, I give it over to the Lord and it's over. No, it's a constant battle. I have up days and I have down days. There's days when I have to just shut my laptop and not read. There are days when I just have to walk away from the OPKs and the HPTs. It is a process. There's no one right or wrong answer. For me at this time of my life, I'm good with starting back temping and OPKing and doing all that. 3 months ago, I wasn't. I was going through an ectopic. And before that, we weren't technically even trying when we got pregnant with the ectopic. We were on a break again and got pregnant again. So, you know, I think the great lesson the Lord has taught me is that, you know, you can do all you want, but it's really my timing. I've prayed, and I feel like God is saying that one day I will be given that second child and bring him or her home. And lately I felt like it might be a girl. I feel like God's telling me it's time for a daughter. I don't know. It's just that pulling in my heart that I feel. But quite honestly, I don't know. You know, like I said, I have to leave that in the Lord's hands. I have to just quit obsessing. Let me go back to number 3. Who is the person I want to become? I'm trying to read this while driving. Who is the person I want to be, and how do I become that person? You know, and that's such a hard thing for me because I have a child, and there's been times when I have lived with a lot of regret in the fact that I've obsessed over trying to have a second child when I have a beautiful child in my presence. And he has been pulled through the mud on all these losses. He has seen me weep. He's seen me lay in bed and not want to get out. And that's not fair. And so I have to remind myself, just like this, who is it that I want to become? And how do I become that person? And it is exactly, it's picking yourself up, dusting yourself off, moving ahead. And I think for me, the person I want to become is, I just want to be that wife to my husband and that mother to my child, that teacher for my students. I want to do, I want to be that daughter to my parents. I want to be what I know I need to be in my heart and live by my convictions. And so a lot of times that gets blurred or foggy from all this TTCing, and that is another sign to me that I need to back off and take a break. And so I do. We've taken lots of breaks. Can you tell? Okay, so then number 2 I talked about with control, and number 1 is, why do I blame myself for not getting pregnant? After my first miscarriage, and y'all, most of you probably watching this have watched my vlog about my loss at 15 weeks. I questioned everything. I blamed myself for everything I put in my mouth, for the position I laid when I slept. Did I lay too long on my stomach? Did I sit too long and it cut off the circulation to the baby? Did I not drink enough water? Was that Splenda not good for me? It was just ridiculous. And the same thing has happened in my mind about my failed attempts at getting pregnant. All those IUIs and all that money we poured into medications and no pregnancies. And I keep wondering, what is it that I'm doing wrong? And yet again, it comes back to the same thing. We don't have that control. I could, it's God ordained. I mean, you may not believe in God and that's your preference, but for me, I believe that there's a God that creates everything, and it is God ordained. That child that is in your womb is created for a purpose, just like you are. And I I believe that it is what it is and it isn't what it isn't. And that's just the way it is. And quite frankly, who am I to complain? I'm a very blessed person regardless. So I've come to terms with the fact that it's not me, and it's not my fault that I'm not pregnant. It's not my husband's fault. Even those months that I've been gung-ho about trying to conceive, and my husband has been sick or hurt or was out of town, or there was 100 reasons why it didn't happen and the timing was off, and I would go on and get angry and get mad because it didn't happen that way. And that's where you get reminded, that quiet voice in your head is like, it just wasn't meant to be. Not that month, it just wasn't meant to be. And it reminds me of this real quick story I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to cut this off. There was a moment when my husband was in school as a pastor, and he was running late for an appointment, and he was absolutely furious about it because he wanted to be there on time, and something at his dorm held him up by about 3 or 4 minutes. And so it was more like 5 or 10 minutes. And so anyway, when he got to a red light leaving campus, he was like 4 or 5 cars ahead of him, and the first car in the front of the lane pulled out, and another car T-boned it, and it killed the person driving that was leaving the seminary campus. And my husband says he just sat there, and at that time, I don't think he didn't realize at that point that the guy was going to be dying, or that he had died. I don't know exactly the details of it. I know it was a fatality, but it's like God told him, my timing is perfect. And had he been on time in his book, that could have been him pulling out and that car T-boning him and killing him possibly. So I just don't question things. And I do. Don't get me wrong. Man, I've laid in bed and cried, and that's why. But in the big picture, I try my best not to question things. I don't want to be the one that gets T-boned. if it means waiting, sorry, my camera cut off again. I didn't realize it till just now when I pulled in to check my film, but I wanted to finish that. What I was saying was that I don't want to be the one that's T-boned, so to speak, in a metaphor kind of way. I don't want to be the one that pushes my wheel and winds up hurt. So if it means waiting 5 minutes, 5 years, 5 months, whatever it is, it's in God's hands, you know, and that's just the way it is, and that's the way it's going to be for me. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for the prayer, waiting for baby Teeter. I love the prayer at the end of your vlog today, and I plan on praying that, and I'm praying for you, because I think you and I think a lot alike, and I think that you find a lot of peace in that. So anyway, that's my vloggity vlog for today. Happy Friday again, guys. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and yeah, that's it. So baby dust and lots of prayers and love to everyone. Bye, guys. See you later.